dude. It feels good when you do it.
No. We have a guest with us that can't stop talking.
Or let's just start right now, because you can put that in later.
Yeah. So, all right, we're back.
All right, here we are.
I know people probably thought we were done.
We're on hiatus.
Yeah, we're on hiatus.
Vacation time. It was a break.
I tried to keep up with content, but it's hard.
It is, dude. Yeah.
We were gone.
We were gone.
It was obvious we were gone.
And I got the stuff to do it now. What episode? What are we doing? Where are we?
Oh, here we go. What the fuck, but why? Episode 15.
15. Damn, that was mine. Why'd you steal the 15, dude? I'm the 15.
We've been good for a while.
I know, yeah.
If you think about it, it's actually episode 17.
17, because the .5.
Yeah, the .5.
Yep.
They're fucking us in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Makes us look less than it really was.
Right, than we really are.
Yeah, but
branch out good. We're here. So what were we talking about before the?
But we actually haven't talked at all because you unplugged.
I did. I completely unplugged at the
so
beach.
Explain. Why'd you unplug? Why'd you ignore all your fans?
I just wanted to, I wasn't ignoring anyone. I was just enjoying my life.
Right. So completely.
I did ignore you.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. You were like asking me to do things, and I was like, "Fuck everything, dude." My phone was blowing up for work, and like I
just wanted
focused on the family.
Wake and bake yoga on the beach.
I
wasn't blowing you up. I just thought about it.
Yeah,
It would be funny to do it.
Yeah. Right, and like,
probably
and I almost did. I almost did a rant.
Right.
But I just didn't. I didn't feel like doing anything.
Right.
Dude. Like I was on vacation.
Yeah.
You know, because like I mean, I had my work life, and then I got the family, and then we got this.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to focus on fam, brother.
Focus on family.
And
it felt good.
It did. It felt real good.
But are you right back to where you felt before?
No, not even.
Not even.
No.
You feel.
What do you mean?
Like you weren't on your phone, and now you're not. But do you feel relieved from it?
Was it a good thing to be?
Right.
Or
was it a waste of time?
No, it was good.
It was good.
I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm even on social media less and shit like that.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just annoying. Like, it's when it becomes something like when I'm going to take a shit.
Yeah.
And like I feel nervous because I don't have my fucking phone, dude.
I agree. I'm
and
the
I
same
was
way.
like, and I left my phone every time I went to the beach. I left my phone.
Yeah.
You know, I just left it, and like, it was blowing up for work, dude. And I just didn't know.
Your phone gets ruined at the beach anyway.
Yeah. I took it out for music once in a while. Yeah. With my speaker.
It's kind of cheating, but I'll let it go.
Oh, dude, fuck it, man. I had a great vacation. I hope you did.
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was good.
It was fun?
Yeah, I heard you can't go to the lake.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, because we have a family reunion.
We got to figure that out.
I know. It's been a thing.
Yeah, I bet
a little
it's
bit
been
of a thing.
Because George ordered a chef.
I know, he's got it catered and shit. It's going to be good, but I mean, my family never gets together, bro. Mm-hmm. Like, never. So, and they tried to. My sister got married. That whistle, huh? I heard that one.
Did you like the whistle pig?
Yeah, the whistle pig was good, dude. That was sick.
Yeah.
But, like, my sister got married in North Carolina. And, like, all my extended family was coming. Like, everybody was coming. And then the hurricane came.
Oh, so you didn't get to see it.
It was hurricane wedding. Wedding hurricane.
Yeah, hurricane.
So, yeah. So, we're having a family reunion. There's going to be a shit ton of people. Yeah. It just happens to be the same weekend other family from Caitlin's side.
Well, it was actually good you were gone. And, like, because I've been on a different route all week. Like, the hardest route ever. Yeah. So, I haven't even been able to
focus on it either.
I can't even read
good, dude.
Riley
See,
a book
like,
at
it's...
night.
Yeah, I mean, and I love the podcast and everything.
Yeah.
And even like the last one, not the one with Brad, the one before that was like stressful on me.
I know.
Because I taught, dude, and it's like uncomfortable. Like, I don't even like talking about, like, I'm done talking about my personal shit, dude.
But you were the one.
I know, and I want to.
You were the one that wanted to. Caitlin was like, Luke, why? And I was like, Luke, you don't have to. You were the one that wanted to.
I know, and I still do, but
that's why I was laughing.
But I want it to be like naturally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I felt like you were pushing me to do it.
Right.
You jackass.
Right.
Yes. And yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay because you got a lot out.
Yeah, I did. It was fine, dude, and I'm doing great.
And it was the first of our podcast. We were like new. People learning about us. We were talking about us. And now they know who we are. Your personality, mine.
Right.
We can
we can let that go.
Right. So I think I will segue. I find a way to say it every time. To turn on the camera. We will segue to a very special guest. Big Ray! It's on. We're all good.
Yeah, it's recording.
Yeah.
What's up, Ray?
Not too much.
How you doing?
Not too bad.
He didn't want to do it? But we got him to do it.
I did not want to do this. I was coerced into this.
Yeah, well, all we had to do was start chatting a little bit, right, man?
I had to start talking.
Yeah, because you like to talk. I like to talk too, and I like to hear what you have to say. Like, you're an interesting son of a bitch.
You're older. You've been through more.
Not that you're a son of a bitch. I really don't know your mom.
You know. I have a question. Okay, do you feel like right now racial tension is as high as it's ever been, or just with media and social media, they make it look like that, but it's always been like this bad?
Well, I think the undercurrent is always there. I mean, let's face it.
Like in the general public, you mean the undercurrent?
Well, I mean, let's face it. I mean, black people have had it tough.
Right? Yes.
I mean, that isn't to say that some white people haven't had it tough too.
Right.
Like, people talk about the Irish,
right,
and the Italians,
how they were
all
treated.
That.
But they weren't enslaved, like.
Well, they talk about Irish slavery, but you got to remember though that it's a different kind of slavery. They were like indentured servants. They actually sold themselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And
I mean, from what I understand, I mean, this is just from what I've read, but black people, I mean, there was no way that they could buy themselves out of slavery.
Right.
I mean, they were stuck.
Yeah.
And maybe one.
So I mean, the way I see it is like there's a lot of pain from that. Like the amount of pain that was created, like just within the human race and the world is one thing. Like that's a lot of pain for one people to endure.
It doesn't just go away. I know white people want it to just go away, but my dad has a great point about the difference between black people and Jews and Italians. Jews can hide of who they are. They can be Catholic. Italians can be something else. Black people can't hide who they are. They're black and they can't hide it.
Yeah, and even gay people can hide.
Or gay people can hide.
Gay people can hide.
But a black person
can't hide.
Unless they're real light skinned.
Right.
Yeah.
But
still,
that's
interesting.
I know. Especially back in the day when you're talking about, you're stuck all of a sudden. I mean, people, talk about, this issue with the illegals, or undocumented workers coming into this country. And, I mean, like they talk about now with how their children were taken away from them. But people forget that's what slaves were. I mean,
that's exactly. We're doing it all over again almost.
Well, yeah, we went to, I mean.
But Trump put a stop to it, right?
He did. He started it and then he stopped it.
He started it?
That's like all I heard.
I thought it was Jeff Sessions that started it.
I know he was like supporting it.
Right.
Well, yeah, and I guess, but I'm not even sure about the complication. I mean, of the whole thing.
It's just because the media got a hold of it. That's the only reason.
Yeah, right. And the whole theory of Jeff Sessions was it will deter people from coming over. Like if you're coming over, your kid's getting taken.
That never works.
No, fuck no, dude.
But
you can't do it. You can't teach with fear. You can't use fear.
But it's unproportional. I mean, like. These people, I mean, okay, Trump's got this point, and he set up this situation of where these undocumented or illegals, as they call them, committed crimes. Well, yeah, I mean, there's going to be some that's committed crime, but the vast majority of them come here
peacefully
to better their lives because they're coming out of terrible conditions.
Right. Okay.
There's no jobs.
Exactly. Yeah, but people don't like that they steal jobs and then bring it back home.
They send all their money home.
Just like they steal Luke's job, and then instead of putting that money into our system, they just take it home. Like that's what people are mad about. We live in Pittsburgh. We don't have to deal with it. Live in California or Vegas, they are constantly getting their jobs stolen from them for guys working for $4 an hour.
It's happening here, brother.
But not as much.
I see it not as
much.
But
you see Mexicans? I never see
in
Mexicans.
the construction world, dude. Like where I'm at, dude. They're doing bricklaying. They're doing drywall. They're painting. They're doing all that shit, and they're actually hired through like probably a white guy. That owns the company, and he's bringing them over, and then he'll get good crews, and then they bring more and more, and they just build these crews.
But just maybe, the real criminal just might be the people that hire them.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the drug world. I mean, they'll go after like the people that are down and out and drug dealing on the corner.
Right.
But then the people that are big, like look at that one, like the Netflix. Remember we watched that little thing on
Pablo Escobar.
No. That one company that was taking, that was laundering money
from the cartel. But the banks get away with it. They get away with it.
Nobody went to jail.
Nobody goes to jail.
This is my whole thing on this. Like, and I've been talking about the war on drugs a lot, but this is directly connected to it. Like, there's a reason why all these people are trying to get into America. You know what I mean? They're leaving a shitty situation in Mexico, and that is where all the cartels have control. Like, and all those drugs that are being made there and being brought over here that is getting the cartels rich, they're coming here so that we can consume them. You know what I mean? So I believe that the whole immigration thing is directly connected to the war on drugs. And also in this country with racism and poverty, it's directly connected because drugs are illegal. That is why Mexicans are trying to come over. And in this country, drugs being illegal, that's what's going on in the hoods. Like, kids are killing each other for these drug turf, drug war, drug money. Like, it's all because drugs are illegal. And the more and more I try and think about this shit, like, the more and more I'm, like, seeing it.
It's hard to get people to comprehend what
it is, but, like, that's the... like, can you see it?
I totally do.
But isn't the best way to comprehend a game is to watch The Wire?
Yeah.
Where it just becomes this cat and mouse
Wait, hold
game.
on. You hear that, Mike and Resnick? The Wire, not Power.
Power's a better one?
No, it's
when
not.
you watch The Wire, you realize
that
the cops are just playing this cat and mouse game with these young kids.
Kids, right? And it's all because
Wire is like literally
it's all for drugs.
All you gotta do is watch The Wire. And it tells you the whole story of
corruption. You know, the people that are really the ones that are bringing it in.
Right.
You know, I mean, yeah, the cartel's bringing it to the doorstep,
right?
But somebody's buying it from the doorstep,
and it's being consumed in this country,
right?
But they don't go after them because they have money and power,
right?
Because money is power.
Money is power.
So they arrest little D on the corner. Ooh, then someone just takes his
place.
And
it's
the same thing,
and it keeps
over.
like. Do you see that it keeps like poverty in poverty? Like it keeps. And it wouldn't be a viable option for those kids in the hood.
Well, check it out.
If you could get drugs at CVS.
Okay, so in The Wire, let's keep it with The Wire. Remember, Dad? They tried. The one sheriff was sick of the drugs, and like old ladies were scared. They were shooting on their block. So he said, "You know what? I'm gonna take all this down to the empty projects, and you guys can do whatever the hell you want."
Yeah.
Right there, they were there watching them. No killing, no crime. You can sell your drugs away from the community.
Away from the
and
community.
It was working, and it was actually based off a true story. Most of The Wire, David Simon was a police detective in Baltimore for like 20 years.
So that's where
like Avon Barksdale, that's a true story.
You watched The Wire, right?
Well, it's the same. Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I did. I watched it a long time ago.
Let me finish. So because you watched it.
But it's the same with that. But
it worked. Hold on, it worked. Okay, until the media got a hold of it, and everybody freaked out about it.
Yeah, right.
And everybody
so then the cops had to go back in
But
there.
the streets were safe. There was no crime, no murders, nothing. It was like people were walking down the road.
Yeah.
And the media and
everyone
people.
was safe, and everyone
they went
started
right
saying
back to the streets.
It's the fear factor, dude. It's the mentality of this country of the fear that is like
and
embedded. It's embedded in our fucking like psyche as a nation that drugs are bad, and the war on drugs is a psychological thing.
Yeah,
you know, like everyone believes that drugs are bad and they need to end and this and that, and the shit that it creates is just astronomically evil.
Yeah.
Like the cops that are getting killed, the kids, like even that shooting that
Nothing
just happened.
good comes from
the shooting that just happened in Pittsburgh, where the kid got shot 3 times in the back, bro.
Yeah.
Like, why do you that's all directly connected to the war on drugs.
Right.
You know, like that. There was supposedly a car that was in a drive-by shooting.
Yeah. Well, what happened was the car that got like tagged and the people pulled him over was the car that was supposedly in the drive-by shooting, which was a jitney driver.
Oh, really?
He was a jitney driver. The kid in the back seat, Antoine, was just in the jitney.
He was in a jitney.
And then in the guns, you know, they said they found guns. They were the jitney drivers, and they were registered and legal.
And legal.
So every story people keep sharing about, but he was in a drive-by shooting. Not true. Innocent kid got spooked. Who wouldn't? If you're a 17-year-old black kid, I'm running.
Getting pulled over, he runs. And that dude.
Because he's afraid.
Because he's afraid. He should be afraid.
And he should be scared, dude.
But white people can't comprehend. Oh, I stand still. I don't do anything. Well,
check this out.
You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it.
I got out of my last 5 tickets. They laughed with me, but you know, if I was black, I would not be getting out of 5 tickets.
And you'd be scared shitless getting pulled over.
I'm not, because I know not.
See, cops still freak me out.
What are you looking up?
I've been arrested too many times to not. Caitlin sent me a thing, and I'm trying to figure out where it is. Here it is. We live in a world where trained cops can panic and act on impulse, but untrained civilians must remain calm with a gun in their face.
So what do you take from that?
I think it's fucking true, dude.
Yeah.
It's so true.
So what's it saying? What's it to people that don't understand
I mean, if you can't understand it, like, we live in a world where trained cops, like, the cops are trained, and they're trained with like guns and shit like that.
Right.
They're supposed to remain calm, and the civilian that runs away, he's the one that's supposed to remain calm. But we can't trust the cops because they're fucking freaking out and shooting everyone, dude. I'd be scared shitless too if I was a black guy, dude.
I know.
And something's got to it's like something's got to change, dude. These cops got to go to jail. You can't. That's fucking murder.
But the media doesn't help either, stirring everything
up. The jury will always side with the police.
Yeah.
Always.
Well, it's fucking
because
the system.
But they do have a tough job.
Yeah, I mean,
they've been through a lot of trauma and PTSD and pulling kids from pulling bodies from cars and little kids murdered. They have to kill people. Every stop could be your last stop. Hey, how you doing? Boom, dead. Because cops get shot all the time. They get shot all the time too, but the media doesn't show that.
Yeah, so they're really
on edge.
War on drugs.
Yeah,
so they just jump.
They're jumpy.
But they shouldn't fucking shoot, dude. Like, they hit them with a taser, fucking call in help if a kid's running.
So what? Just let them run.
Let them run, dude. You don't shoot the motherfucker. Like,
I don't know what the rule about that is. I mean, are you allowed to shoot somebody running? I mean, is there?
If there is a rule that you're allowed to, it should fucking. The guy who made that rule should be.
No, I know the rule. Here's the rule. I don't know the exact lingo. But if you feel that person is a threat to, say you just killed somebody and you were running, but you didn't threaten me, I can kill you because of the threat of what you might do to the community.
That's the rule?
That's the rule.
Oh, that's the rule.
But that makes sense in a way. So even though you're running away, listen, you're running away, but you just killed 5 people. So I can kill you because you might go kill more people.
Right.
Yeah, but you know, like, I can understand if, like,
that makes
there was, like, if they
sense.
knew the guy for sure was the shooter.
Hey, what's wrong, Sonny?
You know what I'm saying, dude?
Yeah.
Like, if they're like, if a cop watches a guy kill another guy and then he starts running. All right.
Let's explain the rule.
But these fucking, they're kids.
Of how they could get out of it.
Okay. And
in his mind, he thought he was just involved in a drive-by shooting because that's why they pulled him over, because they thought he was involved in a drive-by shooting. Yeah. So this kid's running and he's thinking he's going to kill.
Shooting.
Yeah, boom.
He's gonna go kill
that's how they're going to fight it. That's the only way.
I mean, they do shoot white people too.
Yeah, they sure do.
I mean, cops won't hesitate to shoot a white person.
No, not at
all.
They'll
shoot anybody.
But like what we were talking about earlier about the division, I think that the media, like, nourishes racism. I really do. Like, the way that they fucking just always constantly push it in our faces. Like, there's something, they want us to be divided. Like, there's a divide with racism.
There's probably money in it. Like, somehow it's money.
Yeah, well, it keeps
money.
us divided. And I think that our system likes us divided. You know, they like us Republican, Democrat. They like us black and white.
Think about why. Why would they want us?
Why wasn't it always?
And we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah, well, I think social media is stirring it up. Maybe it was, but there just wasn't, like, social media in our face.
When we started the conversation, it was, it's about the undercurrents, right?
Yeah. Okay, yes.
In other words, it's there. I mean, you figure, I mean, here you had, a race of people that were kidnapped, and even as they may have been married, and then their children were taken from them, and they were sold off into slavery.
And they hear these stories.
And so they had to live in slavery. And so people wonder, why are black people against each other? But probably because of the climate that they were in, they had to survive.
Right.
Because they all would fight for the better job. I mean, if you were on a plantation, wouldn't you rather be a butler than out in the fields?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I sometimes...
So, like, the master would like when they were fighting against themselves? Like, within
themselves? No, why they fight with each other.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm trying to connect it with, like, the wars in the hoods, you know? Like, why?
I think probably, once things settle down with the slavery thing, the black people might have had it even worse. Possibly, just a theory or a thought that I had, is after slavery, because when they were enslaved, they knew where they were stood.
It's almost like somebody getting out of jail and they always want back in sometimes.
Yeah, you get institutionalized.
Now, of course,
it's like a mental institutionalized type
now,
thing.
if they had a good slave owner,
which a lot did, some did.
Right, that was kind and good and everything or whatever, however you want to look at that, you know, like maybe
good slave. But they didn't beat him.
Well, like Thomas Jefferson, you probably might have been better off as a slave with Thomas Jefferson,
right? Than some hick in West Virginia, or something.
Right? Who's going to beat you all the time. But then all of a sudden,
the man with the whip in his
But then all of a sudden, after slavery was over, you know, like they could, like, I mean, there was possibility on the plantation to be a blacksmith, to be, you know, to be a butler,
and then when they're just
or a housekeeper on, you know,
and then like especially whenever you're looked at as like a subpar human, and then you're just freed into this place where everyone looks down on you.
So now what are you gonna do?
Like it would be hard to fight out of that.
Like I had this idea, you know how all of a sudden everybody's against illegals, right?
Yeah.
That they're terrible because they're taking their jobs, right?
It's fear.
But didn't slavery take people's jobs? I mean, Southerners were poor. Yeah. I mean, if you actually looked at a typical Southerner, you know, you always think of the South as mansions and drinking and wine and having, you know, the Southern life
out on the fucking porch.
But probably most Southerners were probably poor and living in some shack.
Yeah.
You know, because
no teeth.
That's true.
The black slaves were taking their jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, instead of hiring, you know, because you know, white people have picked cotton.
Jobs,
You know, I mean, they were like, if you actually look at the history of that, I mean, like poor whites were treated badly, and they had to pick cotton and things like that when there were no slaves around.
Right.
So the slaves actually started taking the jobs, and you think, you know, and so really white Southerners really fought, you know, for the
jobs,
so other people would take their jobs.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in other words, slavery was a bad thing. I mean, aside from the morality of kidnapping people,
right?
You know, I mean, aside from that, they were taking jobs away from poor Southern people.
Right?
Because now there's no jobs.
Less than Mexicans for free.
Because they
beat that.
Because they would have them be
owned.
Like a Southerner could have been a blacksmith.
Yeah.
Or he could have been a housekeeper.
Since the inception
a butler.
of this country, like it's been
constantly
like there's such an imbalance of like the money and power, and then the lower class worker.
Yeah.
You know,
so
it's still there, and I think it's getting even worse.
Yeah, it's like you're rather rich or you're like poor.
Or you're poor
you're trying
shit,
to get by.
dude. So and like the rich get rich and the poor get poor.
So after slavery was over, and I'm just playing with this idea, you know what I mean? And so like I think probably after slavery was over, it could possibly have been worse in some respects.
Right.
Because now all of a sudden, what are they going to do?
Right.
There's no jobs, there's nothing.
Right.
So now they have to figure out, you know,
where to live, how to live.
Yeah, how to live, how to survive, because they were so dependent on
So do you think, like, all right, I just had this thought pop up, like maybe like drugs were thrown into like the black communities, because there's that whole thing
later on.
Yeah, later on, like,
but
was that to give them like an alternative instead of like having to have these legitimate jobs for all these people? Because that's a viable option for a lot of kids in the hood, is to start selling drugs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Rather than going to get another job and take other jobs.
But the drug thing could be as simple as a couple rich people wanting to profit off drugs and like, here, have the black people sell it.
Have the black people sell it.
Could be not so organized.
Right. But now
conspiracy.
Conspiracy. But now that it's doing that, and the wealthy are still getting
more
wealthy, they're okay with it.
Yeah, they're okay with it.
I mean,
like I think a lot of things that are real fucked up in this country didn't happen intentionally.
Right.
Like I really do think that the Industrial Revolution was one of the worst things, at least for our planet, that happened because of the rapage and pillages of the freaking environment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just to make more shit faster, quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that wasn't done intentionally, but they were making money. You know, they were mainly making money, and within making money, like people have to be treated like shit. So that's kind of correlates somehow, and it's
but
hard
just
to like
finish
just
finish off the thought about the slavery, and then afterwards, and then it wasn't really that long ago that you had these what do they call it? The Jim Crow laws.
Yeah,
it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
You think
dude, we were just hosing them down and not letting them use our water fountain.
Like
not
in
that
the
long
50s,
ago.
dude. This is like 60 years ago.
People act like it was so long
ago, but it wasn't.
And plus
and that's the thing that I was gonna say too. Like
that generation's still here.
Right, the generation's still here, and the generation that like is getting older, our age, they hear all those stories.
Yeah, right.
You know, so that pain is passed on to them.
Yeah, they hear.
You know, like that pain from the from that generation to this one, they still hear the stories. It's still taught.
Yeah.
You know, that the white man's evil and this and that. Like, even if it's not directly like that, there's still, like, that black mentality to look out for the white guy.
Yeah.
You know, don't trust the white man, which they shouldn't.
Yeah, but look at religion. You know,
but there's got to be a point when they do.
Right.
Well, look at religion, though. The Southerners...
There's got to be some forgiveness. Sorry, Ray. That was the last thing I had to say.
No, it's okay. We're just flowing anyway, but just sort of rolling with things, with ideas. But, like, you know, like, I had this idea that we're really part of this consciousness.
Yes.
You know, we're in this ocean, this consciousness, and we all share that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So all the things that, you know, I mean, we may all of a sudden, as whoever we are, black or white or whatever, we may personally have, you know, prejudices, and then, but the rational person will think, well, is that really a rational thing to do? But there's a lot of people that aren't really necessarily go that far.
Right.
I mean, they've been brought up to hate.
They don't even question it.
Whether it's Indian, I mean, you'd be surprised. I mean, look at the fate of the American Indian,
the Native Americans. Yeah, man.
I mean, yeah,
they were treated like garbage.
But a point to what you were saying, like people that are real racist, like they can look at black people and see all the drug dealers, and they can see all the killing and not see the good. But like white people, there's a lot of trash and killing too. And like white people just think that black people are the only ones committing crimes, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they just see bad in everything they do.
Yeah, but I mean, but look,
because a lot of it's shined through the media,
right?
Yeah, but look what we did, though. I mean, like we prevented black people from coming into white neighborhoods, and you can talk to any, and you know, a lot of times,
dude, we still live in white bread America. That's
I know, but you,
like,
I mean, a lot of times, you know, I'll have a conversation like that with somebody, and they'll think like, no. I says, yeah, you talk to any real estate that's been around like my age. They definitely did not want black people in white neighborhoods.
Yeah,
and so the black people were stuck.
Still very segregated, I see. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the black people stay within the city.
Yeah.
And like out here and where I live, like
there's like none.
There's like hardly any.
Yeah,
it's back to that idea.
But they don't want to live out here.
No, they don't.
Because they feel out of place.
Yeah, right.
Everybody, they're all there.
Yeah.
You know?
But there's no escape for them.
That's one thing.
Good communication. There's like buses. It's how they get around.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it too.
Yeah,
it's
right.
not all of us holding them back.
No, it's not.
They just don't know how to move up here. You know? Everything's so spread out.
It's this.
They want to walk to the
like
store.
An anxiety. It's like a racial anxiety.
Yeah. I mean, do white people just move to a black neighborhood?
No.
Not really. You know?
That's why, like,
you know what I'm saying. Some black people move to a white neighborhood.
Well, yeah, right. But I mean, look at, let's say
Toronto was cool.
Yeah, but what about this religious thing? Is one of the things I don't understand. Is like somehow, you know, black people were like the mark of Cain, you know, and the reason that they were black is because, you know, because when
the mark of Cain, I don't know what that is.
Well, you know, when Cain killed Abel, the story of Cain killing Abel. And then when Cain, because they were brothers, and so Cain killed Abel, and so there was this belief in the South that black people, the reason they became black was because of the mark of Cain.
Okay.
It's incredible
so back to the Bible, dude. I think I
know.
It's incredible that this actually went on. And that's
people
how they justified.
But
that's how they justified slavery.
I know, dude,
it's like mind blowing.
That's how they justified slavery.
That's why I had to do that rant. I just could not take the stupid Bible shit. I just can't. But whatever, let them go. Whatever, keep going.
Well, I mean, the Bible, you know, like
it's an old, and like I actually had this.
It's a fairy tale.
I had this conversation with Eli in the truck the other day. He was asking about like heaven and hell. He's like, good people go to heaven, bad people go to hell. I'm like, bud, that's just a story.
Right.
You know, some people believe that story. I'm like, the truth is, like, nobody knows. Nobody knows what happens when we die. The only thing that we know is that we're here right now.
Right.
And it feels good to be nice and kind. Yeah. And honest.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, let me ask.
I felt real good about that explanation, Jason
good.
Fry. Right?
Well, let me ask.
People were mad about my rant.
Were they?
Yeah, people hated my rant.
I thought it was great.
Well, they liked it, but the part about there being nothing.
Oh, really?
Well, let me ask you though that, you know, I remember I printed out the parable of the sheep and the goats.
Yes, I did not read it. My wife found it and put it somewhere.
Oh, okay.
But I will read it. Now that we're talking about it now, I might, actually. I say that I will. I say that I
Wait, were you about to say a point? I wanted to make one point. When I was talking about nothing in my rant, I think there's two things people can't comprehend, which is nothing and infinity. Like, we can't comprehend, like, infinity. Like, space just keeps going. You can think about it and think, but if you really like, smoke weed or something, you can't go. Same with nothing.
You can't think to it.
That's
why
what
I've been saying about, like, there's knowledge of, like, that you can gain intellectually and thinking.
Yeah.
And there's a knowledge that you can gain without thinking. And that's the type of shit that...
Right. Yeah.
The knowledge that I'm talking about.
Yeah,
like, infinity makes sense, and the oneness of the universe and the oneness of consciousness, that there's one big consciousness, and the unity between the earth and humans and everything, that's the knowledge I'm talking about.
But people don't want to believe that.
That you can get from not thinking.
Yeah. No, I
mean, that's what I was saying. Like, each country has their own consciousness.
Right.
Each country.
And each community.
And I think
right, but then there's still one worldwide human race consciousness. And in Buddhism and things like that, the consciousness even goes deeper. Like, anything that's alive.
But don't get too deep, because I know what you're saying. Like, each country has their own sets of...
Like, set of beliefs.
Because of the media.
Right.
The media, in other words, the media sort of sets you up. And so, like, if you're, like I was saying before, if you're like the rational person, let's say all of a sudden you think, let's say all of a sudden you say, well, I hate a certain race of people. And then you start to think, well, why?
Right.
Where did I get this feeling from?
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's from the media.
Right.
But it's sort of vicariously brought into it because of other people too.
Yeah.
So it's the media,
people feed into
other
it.
people, and it's all part of this
people
consciousness.
Get pissed off. People get angry.
Like, there was this psychiatrist named Jung. This is his last name. I can't remember his first name. Carl Jung.
Okay.
He noticed.
It's Lee or Young.
Well, he noticed that when he came into this country, which I thought was an interesting observation, he felt that a lot of the people here in the United States, actually almost had kind of the similarities with African people.
Really? Tribal?
No, just in other words, there's a similarity.
In
like
what way?
Because you sort of like through osmosis, like a lot of times married couples, will like look alike, just through years and years of being together.
I've seen
even
that.
some
like
owners,
dog owners.
Yeah, I've seen
or
that.
even some owners will look like their dog.
They do that in 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah.
And so Americans sort of, because of this enslavement of Africans, sort of like, started taking on those attributes, the similar attributes
Of Africa or of
of
slavery?
Africans, yeah, because he thought
slavery?
he thought that Americans, his observation as a European, that Americans had similar attributes as a whole, even the white people, to Africans, because they started assimilating those attributes, even though they kept them enslaved.
Okay.
So you sort of become sometimes, it all sort of gets mixed together.
Right.
That's what I mean by this consciousness. We're kind of like a combination of all the things that we do, it's like we've done,
we come from?
like all the terrible things that we've done to the Indians. And I know the argument that Indians were killing each other too, which they were.
Right.
I mean, Indians.
We all kill each other.
Yeah, I mean, everybody. It's just a whole history. If you actually really get into the history of the world, it's just one blood.
Yeah.
It's just one trail of blood.
And
we're always killing each other.
I heard an analogy on if like a psychiatrist were to look at the human race as a whole, and a psychiatrist were to diagnose that through the past.
Right.
Dude, they'd be psychotic, paranoid, fucking opinion, like not
all
opinionated, like everything, like the entire race of humanity would be in jail.
Yeah, we're dealing with a lot of different personalities.
So we have, for the United States, just like whether it's Canada, Japan, or whatever, developed a kind of consciousness, from the things that we've done.
What we put out there,
good or bad. I mean, luckily there's a lot of good.
There's a lot of good heart in like the general population.
Yeah, so what's
like, and I think that like a lot of truths that I'm coming to see is like war is bad and that's it. Like if you think of like what is a truth, like I think it's something that 90% of the people can agree on.
Yeah, but
when the truth of like war is bad, 90% of the people know war is bad.
Right.
And that is the truth we all agree on. But whenever it goes to where you can start justifying war for certain reasons,
but if you're being attacked.
If you're being attacked, like I can understand
you have no
self-defense, right? But there's a lot of wars that we've been involved. A lot of war is fought for profit,
and
whether
resources.
It's land profit and resources, land. Like that's what war is for. And I gotta say, the war on drugs again. Like it's creating profit for a lot of people, and money is God.
But I mean, but all these things that happen in our history as the United States doesn't just go away.
No.
You know,
because
it's all there
it,
still.
It's
in our consciousness.
It's in our consciousness, and it's also taught. And like a lot of people aren't tapped in with their consciousness, like the true consciousness of the one. Like everyone, a lot of people are so lost in their thoughts and their beliefs, and all those thoughts and beliefs are passed down. They're taught to, it's taught to be scared of white people. It's taught to hate black people. It's taught, and the only way that can change is if people quit looking to the past. You got to look at right now. You know what I mean? And there's got to be forgiveness.
Okay, say right now there was like a black kid that was living.
He's just a kid.
All right, they say there was a black kid, right? I'm not trying to be like racist. Like, say he was just living in the woods, no family.
Okay.
He never watched the media. He never watched TV. When I was in Maryland at Deep Creek, I like drove to some gas station, and like even as a white guy, I had a backwards hat. I almost wanted to take my hat off. Like I was nervous of these guys. Like they're huge. They had like American flag tank tops, huge trucks. Okay.
Yeah.
So if this black kid that never was taught anything, and then he just like walked into these deep parts of West Virginia, Maryland, you would just feel the racial tension without learning anything,
You could just feel it just from like the looks and stuff.
You ever been somewhere you just feel?
Yeah.
Like I'll be in like a bad neighborhood and I just like feel this bad energy. Like,
well, yeah,
really?
You definitely feel it.
You don't even need to say anything. You just know
you don't
belong
you can't.
there.
I mean, you can't. That's a hard comparison to make, Because if someone that was never taught anything would come into...
Two people were never taught anything.
Yeah,
and
right.
I still
and
think...
that would be great. No way. There's
I
no way
guarantee
there would be.
If two people weren't taught anything, and they saw like a black guy and a white guy, just because he's black and he's white, they would already be like, he's different than me. And start to be like the feelers.
You think?
Which would start...
No, I don't think that would happen.
What do you think?
I don't think
there was this funny cartoon.
It would just be like eye color or something like that. And that's the way that it's got to get. Like it's got to and that's another. But that's another truth that I was talking about. Like the truth is that there's only one race on this planet. It's human.
Well, we do.
Well, we have our.
That'd be like a weird.
Yeah, that's kind of fucked up.
Super black,
but
super white.
Those are not. They're not taught. Like,
but we do have our perceptions. I think a good example, which is getting away from the whole race thing, is
we can get away from it.
let's
get away from it.
Yeah.
I mean, just to make a comparison without bringing that into it. Like I was getting a haircut at Supercuts, and so I was waiting to get my haircut, and there was this guy, who had his head shaved, and he had tattoos all over him, even on his neck, everywhere. And he had rings in his nose and his tongue and everywhere. And all of a sudden he was going to cut my hair, and I was like freaking out.
Really?
I'm thinking this guy, because he looked scary to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying that's my perception.
Yeah.
Because even though
best haircut ever.
Even though I'm like liberal in a lot of ways. But I'm really conservative, probably in more ways than I am liberal.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I think kind of Kirby says I am
conservative
too.
In what way? Like,
well, in other words, like to me, if you're conservative, it means that that you care about your family.
Yeah.
You're responsible. You pay your bills. You watch your bank account. You know what I mean, and you take care of your kids. You know what I mean, and that's what.
And you believe like less government, more people.
Well, we talked about this government thing, and I mean, I agree that like we probably have too much government.
Well, how about that Joe Rogan clip I showed you? That guy was wrong.
Oh yeah, he went too far.
He went too far. Can you explain it?
What, a Republican or a conservative?
Well, he was a libertarian, but I guess he was gay too.
I'll show you the clip. It's good.
He was gay too, right?
It's like a little Joe Rogan fight. Yeah,
he was gay too. But they took off on this.
No government. He wants like no government.
He wants like very limited government where you have no regulations. And then Joe Rogan went off because he says, "Could you imagine like there was no regulation in the building industry?"
Yeah, right.
I mean, and the guy's point was but competition. We don't need regulation because competition will make them do a better job. And Joe Rogan's like, "No, it won't.
No, there needs to be certain things.
Right. There's families living in these homes and stuff. But he thinks competition X's out regulation.
No,
not true.
Yeah,
well, no, what it allows, if you don't have, I mean, there definitely are bad, I mean, I could actually, mention some bad regulations, but I won't get into that.
Like into Wall Street. You start talking about regulations.
But see, now they're loosening. By now, you know what the Glass-Steagall Act was, right? I mean, you got to know that. You still don't know that as much as I've mentioned it.
I've never heard you talk.
I've never heard you talking about it. Either.
Okay,
the Glass-Steagall.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know that in 1930. You know that in 1930 we had a Great Depression.
Yes.
We know that.
Things collapsed.
We know that.
We know that.
Yeah,
things collapsed.
We know the year.
We know this Glass-Steagall thing.
Well, the whole economy collapsed and took us into a Great Depression.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
that was your parents' generation, right? In the
1930s.
Yeah.
You know, which goes back farther than well, my parents were born then.
Yeah. But they lived it.
Well, maybe, but...
So I'm just wondering if a lot of you're saying, you're conservative in the fact, you pay your bills, you're responsible, you're this, you watch your bank account, all that stuff.
Right.
Is that stem from your parents being through the Great Depression, that's part of the way that you are
I had no part in that.
No, I know,
and
but
my parents didn't have... Well, maybe as a kid.
You know what I'm saying? It was passed down to be a certain way.
But your parents...
About your family, you got to watch your family's back because the fucking banks might leave. You got to watch certain things
I'm not
that
even
are considered conservative.
I'm not even really actually getting into that particular angle. Okay, so but it was believed, and there are different theories about it. I mean, some people have different ideas about what caused the collapse, and but most people seem to agree the collapse caused because of Wall Street gambled with our money, with everybody's money.
The Great Depression.
Yeah,
you're talking about 2008.
No, I'm talking. Well, I'm talking about
the 30s,
1930.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
The
so it's the same thing again.
So in 1930, we had the great.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we were able to get out of this. But in 1930, we didn't. We had a Great Depression, and so it was believed that Wall Street gambled away everybody's savings, and so people were jumping off of buildings because they lost all their money.
Yeah,
and so what they did is they decided to create the Glass-Steagall, which was that they would create two type of banks. One bank would deal with savings, and another bank would deal with investments. Okay. And you couldn't do both. Like this bank couldn't do investments, and this bank, this bank did savings and this bank did investments.
Okay, that makes sense.
So there were two separate pockets.
Entities.
Right.
Okay, now Bill Clinton signed the repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act, putting all our money into one pot. Okay.
That was the beginning of the end.
And that was really kind of the beginning of the deregulation of the banks. Now, Bill Clinton, being a Democrat, and people blame Bill Clinton for having, signed that. But what people forget that what he signed was a bill that was by Republicans. It was called the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act, and they're all Republicans. So Bill Clinton actually signed a Republican thing because it was proposed by Republicans, and he signed it, just like NAFTA. NAFTA was created by Republicans, and Bill Clinton
were looking to get rich.
But they always blame.
They were going to get the Clintons rich too.
Well, they blame Bill Clinton for signing NAFTA, which he should be blamed. But people.
But that started in Reagan's era, right?
Right, Reagan started.
You telling me that.
Reagan started NAFTA, really, and it was kind of a republic. So anyway,
they're all controlled by money, man. They don't care.
So it began. It's like the same story over again. So banks were deregulated, and deregulation. Getting back to the idea of regulations is when you don't have enough regulations, it allows crooked people to do crooked things.
Yeah.
And so now already the Trump administration is working to do away with some of the regulations that were put in place to prevent what happened in 2008, where millions of people lost their life savings, their jobs, and everything.
Right.
And so now they're trying to loosen banking regulations, and all it does is just enable people that are crooked
to get away
with it.
Right.
Like we bailed out.
There was a book that I listened to. My cousin told me about it. I forget what it was, but he was talking about how
the inside job.
No, it was. There's this author. Fuck, I forget his name. It's actually in my phone. But this author went into how, even the universities nowadays, their accounting classes are teaching, there's certain universities that teach that deregulation is a good thing. You know what I mean? And
right,
so
the libertarian,
yeah. Yeah, they're coming up to believe that deregulation is a good thing as accountants, and like this will help the economy as a whole. So they're actually breeding that thought or that belief. And like I've been saying like forever, man, there's bad lessons out there, you know, and they permeate. And then they become part of our entire culture. Well, and it all starts with lessons, and that's where I was getting with you and the depression with your parents. Like, did they learn to be a certain way, and then you picked up some of that?
Yeah, because I felt that my dad was very, conservative in those sense.
You got to protect your family.
But now, conservative or whether you're liberal, like I feel like that Republicans are liberals about guns.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. They're very liberal about guns.
Liberal about guns.
Liberal about a lot of
And
things.
Democrats are more conservative about guns.
Is that a word game?
I don't know.
Well, what happened was that in the beginning, the word liberal really came from liberty.
Okay.
Liberal really means people that believe in liberty.
Are we going to talk about like the Latin of where liberty came from?
Well, no, but just think about it. Liberal has this bad connotation. Like in other words, you're liberal. Like, you
freaking snowflake.
Yeah, you're liberal with your kids. You let them do what they want.
Yeah, right.
You're excessive in everything that you do. Yeah. And so what they did is they took the word liberal, which really came from the word liberty, and they transposed it to the word liberal in the negative sense.
Yeah.
Like
the meaning flipped.
Well, like in other words, when they say to put on,
was that taught? Was that a bad? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
so liberal means excessive. So liberal means excessive. Like if I tell you to put on cream liberally, it means to put a lot of cream on.
Right, right.
But if I say to put on cream conservatively, you put on a little bit.
Right, right.
So
and
what they
talking
did
about the government, like the conservatives. Like you got to be conservative with the government.
Well, conservatives have always been the more negative influence in society because didn't
they end slavery? The Republicans actually ended slavery.
Yes, right. But the Republican Party in the beginning was the liberal party. But they believed in liberty.
Yeah, right.
So that's why it was the Republicans who believed in women's suffrage,
Yeah.
And they believed in freeing, black people, and they believed in the laissez-faire and the progressive but back then, like the conservatives were the stuffy people.
Right.
And so the liberal people wanted a chance for everybody to get rich.
Right.
So capitalism really originated from liberals, who in the true sense of the word of liberty. So capitalism was something. I mean, the initial goal of capitalism was so that everybody could be free. In other words, it's like as opposed to communism, we're seeing communism. The state owns everything. And so you've got this extreme government where you're not allowed to own anything.
Right.
I mean, if you ever get into...
there's greedy people, and that's what happens. I've always heard that. that communism is good in theory. But whenever you get the greedy people, it's good in theory, but there's still...
It's never going to...
Well, it opened itself too much in corruption. I mean, there are natural forms of communism, really, is like if you're out in the Old West, and all of a sudden... like you were all together, let's say just you're all there and you're pioneers and you're all there and you're all together and all of a sudden your neighbor and your neighbor and you like your neighbor and his house burns down, the whole neighborhood goes and helps build his house back up again. Right. The same like with the Amish.
The Amish, yeah.
They're like natural communists.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? I was delivering at the hospital, Shady Hospital, and there was like Amish people in there getting
work done.
Yeah. I didn't know
there's like different
I thought they don't
sects.
Believe in technology and all that.
Well, you have the Amish, and then you have these newer
that are like
Ammonites, or Mennonites.
Yeah.
They're different.
They're strict. They're more strict.
No, they're less.
They're liberal.
They're more liberal in that sense. In the worst sense of the word liberal, they're more willing to
flow into Western civilization.
See, I actually had like a question I wanted to bring up. Okay,
Malcolm Gladwell was the author.
I'll plug it. Right. Bing. But people were talking about social. I saw people talking about social media and that we're just revealing ourselves through social media. But like, I was wondering, is Facebook a mirror of society or a facade?
It's a facade.
Yeah, but I think,
or is it a mirror?
No, I think it's a mirror too.
I don't know.
It's a mirror too. Yeah,
it's both.
Right, but yeah,
because it's all
people act different for Facebook.
Absolutely, and then like you see like a lot of people that are putting like post after post. A lot of it's just good shit.
All right, good example. This rapper just got killed, and that same rapper,
Wapo?
No, the other dude got killed, and the killer was on Facebook Live talking about it.
What the fuck?
He was talking about it and bragging about it on Facebook Live.
That he killed him?
Yeah, and now he's in jail.
Like, why would that is a weird thing. I mean, that does happen
all the time.
Yeah.
Cops, you know the cops, the first thing they do is go on the internet, go on Facebook. Because people snitch on themselves now.
They brag about it.
They brag about it.
Too bad they couldn't have found out who killed him.
Tupac
I wonder if he's just trying to get famous.
It's still crazy they never found Tupac or Biggie's murder.
Yeah,
I mean, that's weird.
Dude, there's a lot of shows coming out
The two
about
biggest
it
rappers of all time, just, now it's too late now. They're never gonna.
No, just like the Kennedy thing, they're just never gonna,
Dude, if you ever watch the footage, like good footage of Kennedy getting killed, you really see his skull and like his brains like blow out.
No, I've never seen
Yeah, I
that.
watched a good version of it. It was really, do you think there was two shooters or one? Or do you think there was
you know what?
You don't get into that.
I don't get into that shit either.
You
just watch a documentary.
No, but you can get sold either way with conspiracies. You know what I mean?
You can.
If you watch
and that's how I feel about like anything that the media puts out there.
Right.
You can get sold either way. Like especially with the technology we have now, like you can. And I've been saying that for a while. Like if you're on this side of the argument, like there was only one.
You sounded like Matthew McConaughey.
Did I really?
Why not?
Why not? all right. But yeah, like with anything like that the media puts out there, like especially with like what just happened with the Mexicans.
It's easy to get brainwashed.
Dude, ring out your brain. And we've all been brainwashed, brother.
Yeah.
And you can go to the left or the right on either topic, and you can find good points on both sides.
Okay.
That's why I don't fuck with it.
I want you guys.
Well, I used to be. I actually used to be conservative.
Yeah, he was way more Republican.
Yeah, I used to be way Republican.
Voted for George Bush twice.
You just said that you're more conservative.
He means Republican. Say Republican. You're
so
more
conservative and Republican are two different
I like
you just
the
said
word
you're
conservative better than.
I know, but you just said you're conservative, and then you're saying you.
But I've never.
But I used to be. Yeah, right.
But I
so
was
you're
Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
He used to be Republican.
He used to be
and voted for
Republican.
George
But I
Bush
was
twice.
never.
But now you're more liberal, but still conservative as a person. Conservatively, socially conservative, politically liberal.
You're barely political.
That makes sense.
You know what? What about like?
That makes sense, right?
Well, no, I mean, what I'm saying is like I've always been a registered Democrat from the beginning because I was definitely. I mean, you figure I was like a hippie from the '60s.
Yeah, right.
You know, so I was definitely like more liberal in that sense.
Yeah.
And then somehow I got in. You probably never heard of this one lady called Ayn Rand.
Yeah, dude, I've listened to her book. John Galt. Who the fuck is John Galt?
Well, I read all.
That was like in that book. You've read all of them.
I read all her books.
One, and like afterwards, my sister turned me on to her, and afterwards, I was like, that might have been the biggest waste of time or the most important thing that I've ever listened to.
Yeah,
it was very like, and like a lot of people, I thought that she was more liberal. But from the book,
she was an atheist.
Yeah, but from the book I listened to, like she had the backs of like the businessmen, like the ones that had the money.
Well, she felt. See, I think most.
What's
people,
the name of the book that I'm talking about? The
Atlas Shrugged.
Atlas Shrugged.
No, I read all her books.
Okay.
I read a lot of her philosophy books too.
So that turned you more conservative?
Well, in the sense that it made me more conservative because Democrats were more into this socialistic thing.
Right.
And so Ayn Rand kind of made me more into this capitalistic thing.
Yeah.
Getting back to that discussion.
It's good.
Because if you look at the history of capitalism was designed to really make people free.
Yeah.
In other words, I had the power to create my own business.
Right.
Whereas before then, it was unheard of for a common man to start up their own business. Because conservatives controlled everything.
Right.
I mean, the elite, the conservatives. And so back then, conservatives were really...
when you try and destroy that freedom, that shit gets really fucked up.
In other words, I mean, so, capitalism, I mean, there's this kind of, like we talked about demonization of the government and and then I always like to talk about the demonization of capitalism.
Yeah.
And sometimes, but capitalism is like a two-edged sword.
Okay.
If you're like practically a mafia person and you're going out there ripping people off and cheating people and screwing people and you're engaged in like predatory capitalism, like Mitt Romney is an example of a predator.
Yeah.
Right. He cleans businesses out.
But he actually makes them worse.
Right.
And then he puts the debt on the government.
Isn't that what our government is now?
Okay, yes. But I'm saying, but liberals, okay, if we want to talk about liberals and not so much, the more moderate liberals, Democrats, are just, like, let's say like Bill Gates is actually considered a liberal.
Yeah.
In the sense that he feels the rich should be taxed more.
Right. Yeah, a lot of them do. So, and that's what Canada's all about.
So it's a mistake to believe that liberals don't, and then they'll accuse a liberal because, oh, he's rich. Well, liberals want to be rich.
Yeah, right.
But they don't want to be rich at the cost of screwing people.
Right. And I have a big problem with that being a business owner.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard for me to pay someone
you're too nice.
$8 an hour, dude.
Yeah.
But I'm
$10 an hour. I'm like, dude, that's what I was getting paid when I was 17. I was getting $10 an hour under the table, and there's people that are willing to, and like, but it's so hard to.
But I'm not even
get to that point.
Although I'm not.
Life has gotten more expensive.
It has.
So 8
dude.
For you then. Kind of, you could get by. 8 now is tough.
It's tough, dude. Even 10.
Yeah, even
like
10.
I don't understand. Like I'm paying people now $10 an hour.
I just got a
$4
raise because of cost of living.
Did you?
Yeah.
But I'm not even. But
unions can be a good thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not even talking just about that. I'm also talking about, like, remember we watched that. What was that? You just mentioned the name of that.
The Wire?
No, the one about the banking regulation.
Oh, Inside Job.
Inside Job. And what happened is the banking industry started engaging in predatory behavior. Like what they would do is like
the whole mortgage thing in 2008, that was predatory.
Well, what they would do, they would go to somebody that didn't have any money, and they knew very well that they could never pay it back, and so they would entice them to borrow money when they really shouldn't, because they didn't have any money to borrow.
That's predatory as fuck. And that's how, like, our consumer, that's what capitalism has become, isn't it? Like the consumer.
But that's the bad side of it.
Okay.
There's a good side of it. Like
because money is way too important. Right?
Well, let's say if I start a business and I feel like there's this need for furniture, that people can use furniture. And so, so I start a furniture business, and so I'm providing a service for people that need furniture. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's good capitalism, right? I'm providing furniture for people,
right?
And then I'm even a better person if I can give you a good deal on it, right?
Yeah, that's good capitalism.
But if I try to sell you expensive furniture that it's going to break apart in 1 year.
And that's exactly what's going on.
And then you're a predator.
Yeah.
You're fooling
especially
people.
Whenever you get into like the numbers games of financing, different insurances that you buy, different fucking investments.
Yeah, where they're just screwing you.
They're just fucking. You don't even know what is going on.
I mean, you go to. You go to a plumber.
I hate all that shit, dude.
Well, you go to a plumber because you hope that this plumber knows what he's doing because you don't know how to do it. The same way, if you go to an investment person, you don't expect that. They say, "Well, you should." They blamed
celebrities.
People.
Celebrities are a good example because a celebrity will pay an accountant. The accountant will not pay their taxes or rip them off, and then they'll be like, "Well, you should have been watching him, or you should have known."
Like,
that's what I paid him for.
That's what I'm paying him
right.
For. I don't have time, and I don't know that.
People always, and people will say personal responsibility. I says, yeah, but they cheated you.
They cheated you, right. See, I think a lot of insurances are like that.
Yeah. But they're smarter than you are.
Of course they are. But like what this guy said to me, I was looking to buy life insurance.
How he threw you off.
And this guy, and this guy, oh fuck, I'm gonna look every time you look because if it's not red, I gotta push it. It's my job over here, Jason Fryer. So I was buying life insurance, and the guy that was selling it to me, I think I brought this up before.
How much did you pay for it? Because
I don't know. I don't know, dude. But listen to what he said to me. This is what pissed me off. This pissed me off because he was like, okay, with life insurance, what you're doing is protecting your most valuable asset as a human. And I was like, well, what's that? He's like, your ability to earn income. And I was like, that's my most valuable asset. That's what the insurance people, that's what the system sees me as.
But that is
like, I am a money maker.
But that is important, though.
It's important
because it's survival. It's survival.
It is survival.
But you're a family man.
Right. But it's sad to me that that's looked at by anyone as my most important asset.
Because we have to eat.
And that's what everybody, that's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, but we have to eat, we have to drink, we need like room.
Yeah, and you got to buy it. But that's what I was saying earlier about how people have been reduced to numbers, and that's a bad thing in the entire human consciousness.
We're just numbers. Yeah,
we're just numbers to everybody.
Every job you're a
every
number.
The corporations, as you walk into Target, you're a fucking number.
Right, I'm a number. We're all numbers.
Dude, we have a social security number.
Yeah,
we're a fucking number.
See, there's actually
we're money makers.
We'll
we pay
chips
taxes.
in us one day. Don't you think one day we'll have chips in us one day?
Probably.
I think
absolutely.
We will.
Chips. Like there's
We'll sell it on like you won't lose your kid. You can always that would be
yeah,
good. There would be pros to it though.
There would be, right, dude. I'd rather put like a GPS watch on
I
my
saw
kid.
some story about this 25-year-old. She was real hot. This mom, this guy. Did you see that? Kidnapped her. A mom of a son. Kidnapped his 25-year-old mom, took her to his basement and like had a torture chamber and was like raping her and then killed her. And he did it to a couple other women. Some sick people out there.
Oh yeah.
But I tell my kids that, dude. I tell them like the only thing evil on this planet is human.
So all right. So Luke's point of view of like be nice and kind to everybody. But sometimes,
you gotta watch out. No, I understand.
Oh, you gotta be on your toes.
You gotta be on your toes. Your message in reality sometimes it's like I don't know, dude.
Yeah,
like,
and that's fear.
There's some sick people.
No, I understand that, but
you gotta
it's a tough balance.
It's a tough balance, dude. And then like I think it affects the entire consciousness. That's why I think there are people, a lot of people that are sick like that just don't fit in.
There's a lot of mentally ill people. We can get into that another time.
Well, that's the whole thing.
That's a whole thing.
And sometimes, like I got into this discussion about who's mentally ill and who's not. I mean, they always think of these.
Because you worked with mentally ill people.
Well, because
you were down at Mayview, right?
Yeah,
that's where I'm working right now. They just tore down the hospital.
Oh, and you're doing those.
I'm cleaning the houses that are being built.
I thought they tore
that
down. They didn't tear it down.
Well, they always,
I thought they tore that down a long
yeah,
time
but they got buildings down there.
But they're tearing all the buildings out and they're putting.
Well, they already did.
They're putting a neighborhood. Well, the hospital's still the foundation. They're still ripping up.
Yeah.
Right.
There's rebar and fucking concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just and the place is a mess, dude.
Really?
Dude, like they're trying to build on this thing.
But
and you can just feel it, like everyone's like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Right.
Like I think, like over time,
flooded the other day because it's down south.
Yeah.
When all those floods came.
I mean, like I think, like over time, I've changed in a lot of ways, and I've become more flexible. I think because
he's
like
good at bringing us back.
like one of the things
he doesn't forget when
we
forget.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, it's gone.
Well, one of the things that I've come to the conclusion.
Way gone.
No, one of the things that I've come to the conclusion about is I don't think that idealism is a good thing.
Like what? Give an example.
What is that?
In other words, to live for some ideal.
Like religion?
Yeah.
No,
well, give me an example of
that would
ideal.
be that. In other words, how can I say this?
Like
in other words, like you could.
He should have.
Okay, you can have here's an example of idealism. Let's say you're a libertarian and you believe that deregulation is a bad thing.
Just living off that.
Despite reality coming in, like Joe Rogan did, and say, wait a minute, you're wrong about that.
Because this guy said, like, there shouldn't be the post office, right? The post office is a failure because if
it's not.
It's not, but okay, forget that. Because he said if we got rid of the post office, UPS, FedEx, and Amazon would step
take over.
And it's just...
Well, okay, well, see,
the prices would be so much higher if UPS took over.
Yeah,
we would not.
Dude, and like, what? I mean, what's going on at UPS now? They're talking about striking because they want to hire outside drivers,
non-union
right? Non-union drivers
for $22
that they can pay less, a lot less,
like half.
Yeah,
that's fucking ridiculous. Dude.
Right.
Well, like
the rich kid.
Yeah, they make like $22.
Like I think Ayn Rand is an example,
and that's very provocative for a lot of people. $22 an hour.
Yeah.
People would jump at that to drive.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, those things are actually interesting. What you're
How do you know so much about this, Jason?
No, those things are actually interesting. What you're talking about, but what I've come to believe though is that instead of being like Ayn Rand, I feel is being idealistic. You know, everything works out great on paper.
Right, right.
But in reality,
communism's great in theory.
But in reality, you have to be a reality person. You know, you have to
realist.
Realist.
Yeah, you have to be like this is what this is.
Dick.
Okay.
It does. It looks like a penis.
I like the trickle down theory that Reagan had apparently has not worked because what happened to the middle class, and why did the rich get richer? Yeah. What happened to the trickle down theory?
Yeah, it ain't working, Reagan.
So I've come to believe, like, you know, that
money is God.
There's actually like 3 things I think that I kind of.
There's no going back with this money thing. They were just done.
Finish this one thought that I've been thinking about a lot lately is that, you know, I don't like that when people demonize government, like we talked about that, and I don't like when they demonize capitalism, and I don't like when they demonize socialism, you know, per se, because there's room for all 3.
Right, they can all blend together and make a nice.
Just because I mean, like these
they need
Republicans,
to have a nice baby called humanity.
They can all learn from each other concepts.
Well, these Republicans, they want to do away with libraries.
I love that idea.
Republicans want to do away with libraries, and when I get into conversations with people, you know, like the SPA who are staunch Republicans, they don't believe me.
Okay,
really?
Do you think
they want to do away with your Social Security?
Yeah.
They want to do away with your Medicare.
They want to
give.
They like think socialism.
Right. Do you think an independent will ever win as the president?
You know, like
an independent. You know, one day we'll get there. Just like a black guy.
We will, dude. That's why I don't vote.
Yeah, I'm independent.
I'm not going to vote until I see someone that I like.
I'm independent.
I'm not fucking voting for the lesser evil.
Right.
Because
I'm not playing that game.
Like, if you don't have a good government, you have nothing.
You have nothing.
Because if you work for a corporation, you can't vote.
You're government. Just a slave. That almost sounds like an oxymoron to me.
No, you have to. It's back to regulation. You have to have an ordered society that's based on laws.
Oh, in the shower.
No, I get you.
In the shower, I was thinking about it's so
funny. Why do you have to say you were in the shower, dude?
We're like
you want the ladies to think.
I was thinking about how messed up it is.
You need a picture of you in a shower with a shower cap and goggles.
I was thinking about how messed up it is in a weird way that, like, you know, we're all on the same earth together. We share the same earth, the same ground, but yet, like, a cop can arrest me. But a cop can, like, arrest me and put me in jail. It's like weird if you really think about it. Or, like, the judge can order me, but
judgment.
But being realistic, we need it to keep society in order.
We have to. Well,
but there's certain things, like, there's certain
laws that we have. It'd be anarchy.
Yeah, but there's certain laws that we have that are not, like, aligned with how humanity's supposed to be.
Well, we're growing, and we
are. We're starting to get there. Like the whole.
We're actually. I think we're not growing anymore. I think we're.
What do you think we're doing?
Well, because I think that.
I think we're killing ourselves.
I think we had it better. I think we were better off. I mean,
the human race is to death. Put that on a T-shirt. Put it in a rap song.
We still need to work on that song.
Check it again.
I mean, without getting into this thing.
I know. Yeah. That's part of the song.
Okay.
I mean, without getting into this thing of demonizing Trump. I mean, the reason
we could do that tonight.
I mean, the reason that Trump won is because he knew that millions of people has lost their jobs, and now have jobs making less money.
Right.
He knows that, and he appealed to those people.
Fear.
Well, but he appealed to those people that realized that the middle class was killed.
Right.
And so he appealed to that.
And that's how go away more. Like, he uses fear, all that shit, and big religions use fear. That's what I see it from a humanity standpoint. My wife hates when I keep using that.
Yeah.
But like, that did happen, though.
No, right, I know, but they're using...
I mean, it happened.
Right.
It happened. See, but people will, like, really get mad at me when I say... Because they always want to point to Bill Clinton. But people get mad at me when I say that it was really Republican policies that really did what they did to this country. The reason that all the jobs were lost is because... I mean, G.W. Bush... I mean, they always talk about Bill Clinton having signed NAFTA.
Do you have other questions?
But when G.W. Bush signed our free trade agreement with China, then all of a sudden all our jobs were being outsourced. Why don't people understand that this loss of our jobs was a result of Republican policies? And what Democrats did is they went along with it. So Bill Clinton went along. He considered himself the new Democrat. And so he started going along with this, Reaganism and this whole idea of free trade and everything. But free trade devastated our economy.
Yes, it did. It sure did.
But there's reasons why it failed.
Because of the greed.
Well, there were some good aspects of it in the sense that it brought cheap goods, right? There was a time.
Say your point. I'm done with religion. Then we're going to talk about one more thing.
I got pee.
You got pee.
Oh, okay.
It's already been an hour 15.
Oh, okay.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, let me just
finish this point and we're done. We'll save these for next time.
Yeah,
we
can.
Again.
We will, dude. Yeah. Ray, you're a great guest.
Yeah.
Well, one of the good things about free trade that happened is now all of a sudden everybody's got 5 or 6 TVs in their house.
Yeah.
People years ago were lucky they had one.
Yeah, right.
And if they had
they're
two,
cheap,
they were
dude.
really
Flat
lucky.
screens are like $80 now.
I
You
know,
get like a
they're
40-inch,
so cheap.
$80 TV.
But now
Yeah.
Trump is putting tariffs.
I know, it's crazy.
It's like a $900 TV.
I hate when you buy a TV for like $2,000 and like a year later they're like $700.
Yeah, they're $700. You're like,
damn it.
But now Trump is kind of doing what Bernie Sanders.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
And this is where I kind of have my beef sometimes with Democrats, is because a lot of the Democrats who thought Bernie Sanders, that's what Bernie Sanders wanted to do. He wanted to put fair trade.
Yeah.
And fair trade means, well, wait a minute, you're getting a lot more than I am.
Right.
The idea is to get fair trade.
Fair trade.
And so Trump is trying to put tariffs on things so that trade will be fair.
Yeah.
But the problem though is that people are going to have to all of a sudden get used to paying a lot more for lettuce and tomatoes and people can't buy 5 TVs.
It's a tough
but then you're not allowed to raise the minimum wage. You won't raise, like, the cost of living's been going up forever.
Well, corporations really, people can argue
Corporations are evil, man.
Corporations aren't necessarily evil. Per se.
They hire a lot of people.
Like,
supply a lot of jobs.
Yeah, but
way more than you.
Like, it's
way
almost
more
like
jobs
modern
than you.
sleep. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Think about my ex job. Employs 300,000 people.
Own everything.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying there are pros and cons.
There are pros.
Yeah.
Well, let me just finish this by saying
We've been finishing for half an hour.
I know. There was a guy named. His name is Adam.
Dead, dude.
We're dead.
I have another battery.
It won't even. No, it's not dead battery. Is it the battery?
Yeah. It's the battery.
All right, let's just call it quits.
Let's
then.
call it. Yeah,
All
dude.
right.
I gotta pee.
I want to end it.
No, we gotta end it.
But although we're finished with videotaping.
No, we have to end it properly.
Done. Yeah.
So you're done.
I'm done.
That was like the perfect
Just
way.
for now.
That's what has to happen. He actually talked till the battery died. You know the funniest thing my dad ever said? He was like, that Joe Rogan, that's pretty impressive. I don't know how they can talk that long. I'm like, if anybody can say that.
can talk that long.
But that was fun, right? I'm glad you came up.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Ray.
Thank you very much.
We were just kind of flowing with thoughts.
Yes.
You could like.
You brought like a whole new. There's a smartness going on.
Yeah, like real conversation.
Remember, I always said that when
it's not just two idiots.
Yeah, it's
remember, I always said that.
But I love it.
A dumb show for
when I
finished,
like when I got out of finished high school, I almost felt that I was, I didn't really feel that I could ever make it in college because I didn't have the skills to go to college, and so I went around and tried to build up my skills. And so luckily, I had some good teachers. I had this English teacher, and he really taught me, how to write a paper.
Yes,
like we talked about so many things, and you could write a paper on probably 50 things that we talked about. You could write a whole book on the 50 things that we talked about.
Yeah.
And so he taught us really how to develop a theme and focus on a topic, and develop it, and research it and everything else.
Right.
Because we were just sort of just talking.
Research. See,
you're podcasting before a podcast.
Right, so we were just kind of really talking.
Finish your point. We'll save it for next
But
time.
that's
because I had research in here and like what that's doing.
We were just.
That's long. We don't need
to dude. 150.
It takes forever for me to edit it, so just stop. You done with your point?
we were just talking about a lot of things that are open. People can argue it. Or, how about not argue?
That's what it's all about. It's being
I wish we could do that as a society.
Yes.
We get so defensive.
Opening up
and we
a
fight.
conversation.
Right.
And
just talk.
Exactly.
I mean,
people just talk about
I think sometimes, and I was talking to Mike about that.
That's
like I'm not really afraid to be wrong.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, you can ask Bill, my neighbor over there. Bill.
Right. If you're wrong, you're wrong.
I don't mind admitting that I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, and if somebody. I mean, a lot of times somebody will say something to me, and I'll actually think about it.
Yeah, I think about all that shit.
And I'm thinking, am I really wrong about that?
Like maybe I am.
Look it up.
Right.
And you're wrong.
And I have a lot of things about that.
Right,
like, I've been told I was wrong for a long time.
Right.
And I'm not wrong now. Fuck no, right. Dude. I know exactly what's going on.
Well, I mean, sometimes we can sort of fine-tune what it is that...
I found my personal
if you want to
truth.
keep going, you can pee, or we all burn out.
I'll keep going.
You want to keep going, you burn out.
No, you know me.
All right, go pee. Hurry up, go pee.
All right. I'm going to pee
Break.
and smoke a cigarette.